You've had the alumni game.
How many?
If you played.
If it's half court, I'd have a couple. I did the full court part.
Would you make the shot from Smith?
Yeah, my playing days are over. They were over when I was in shape. So.
Hey, so this trip to Europe, obviously you have your whole team.
Right.
Does that change the way you get done here? Does it change the way you view your team coming out of this?
It changes.
Zach is such a
Right. It changes what we run. We run different stuff that he's not in. So obviously we cater to him. We run a lot of stuff. We run a lot of ball screen stuff. Obviously he gets involved in a lot of it, but we put the ball in Zach's hands a lot. We put the ball in Braden's hands a lot. And so, like, obviously that'll stay. I would think some next guys in terms of being able to play through it. Obviously, we trade off the flash and some actions. So, but it's also one of those things that the game opens up more. You get more opportunities in transition. So just trying to work both offensively and defensively and just get better. Our one-on-one defense, needs to drastically improve.
I know you want to play Trey and Zach more together. How was that work this summer? Those guys played pretty well.
Yeah, it's been good.
On the other side of that, Caleb at 5 and kicking holes.
Right, it's been good. Yeah, it's been good. It's about a third of the time, so we rotate it that way. Mason, Caleb, Trey, they all play the 4 with him about every third practice. So you get 10 practices, so you get to it to a degree, but still not very much data to actually make a statement about it, especially when I'm not here for a couple of them. Yeah. So, what's that?
Will you have Ethan in your?
Yes, I think so. So this is when I came out, I didn't realize he wasn't going until I came back today. So he didn't go, I think, yesterday. The day before that, he must have heard it then or tweaked it or something.
He tweaked it on Wednesday, I saw.
What's that?
He grabbed it on Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, so you know more better than I do.
What can you...
Thoughts on the conference realignment with a few new teams coming through?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be harder for them than it is going to be for us in terms of travel. So when you get right down to coaches and stuff, we want to know the logistics of how we go places, how many days prep you have, things of that nature. I think that's what's going to change. So if you look at our schedule this year without UCLA and USC, we're going to have no single-day preps. Okay, we're going to have all 2-day preps. Now that might be a Wednesday, Saturday, you prepare on Thursday, Friday. It might be a Wednesday, Sunday with taking Thursday off. So each is a little bit different. I would think, and I'm guessing right here, with 4 of them coming into our league next August 1st. And I haven't crunched a schedule since it happened yesterday, nor would I ever. But you've done it long enough to where I would think we have to have travel partners. That would make sense for when Oregon and Washington come this way, or UCLA and USC, they come this way, that they crack it and they play Indiana and Purdue, right? Or you go to Michigan and you play Michigan State. It just makes sense. They're not going to come here and play one game, right? You wouldn't think. And we wouldn't think that we would go there and play a lot of one games. I think we would have done that in the current situation without Oregon and Washington coming. But we were making one trip to the West Coast with UCLA and USC. And now obviously we might have to make 2. But you're not always going to play 4 games. People got to understand that. With the uneven, your schedule when it's not balanced and you have traditional 10 teams, you're not going to play at Oregon, at Washington, at UCLA, and at USC. That will never happen. So, but you're going to probably play 2 of them, right? But I'm guessing with everything. I think that's a lot of other people are talking about it, and they're doing the same thing. They're guessing. Even the people that are going to make that schedule, they've been, breaking all this down to get us ready for UCLA and USC, and now we have 2 more. So it'll be interesting. I would think that they would go like we protect rivalries. I would like to think the West Coast teams would play each other 2 times apiece. So that would be 6 of their 20, right? And then be able to go from there logistically.
Do you ultimately feel it's good for the conference?
Well, I ultimately think as a basketball coach, and it's more than just basketball. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard for me to put on a commissioner's hat or an AD's hat, considering I've never been this. You do what's best for everybody. And a lot of things is driven through money. A lot of things is driven through football and how much money football can bring. And I don't say that as a knock. It's just the nature of the beast, right? That's just the way it is. So I haven't taken a deep dive, and I would like to listen to other coaches in our athletic department what they think, because I can only talk about basketball. I know Oregon and Washington have two really good basketball coaches, wealth of experience and good dudes. And so a lot of times in leagues where, I'm going to go away from your question, a lot of times in leagues, everybody just says the Big Ten plays a certain way, right? So you're saying that all 14 teams play exactly the same, but they got to be able to categorize it when you're doing an interview or you're writing a story. So they categorize it. Well, there's a lot of different, styles in the Big Ten right now. I think we play differently than some teams in our league. I think Iowa plays differently than some teams in our league. I think Michigan State plays differently than some teams. So it's not all the same. So when these teams come in, like Mick Cronin's the coach at UCLA, he was at Cincinnati. He's a Midwest dude. He's hard-nosed, defense, into you, runs good stuff on offense. So you'll see a lot of different people, and people want to kind of give it that broad stroke of saying they all four of those teams play the same way. It's not true, but it's not true in our league already, even though we can take a snapshot of it and say you have more similarities than differences in your league, and that's what you kind of go with.
Going back to your current team, just with Trey playing that 4 more this year, what type of things have you been working on him with him going to that position?
Just defensively. Yeah, offensively, he's a good scorer, so getting him that post up against a smaller forward really helps us. But he's a guy that can shoot on the perimeter, he can drive the basketball, he can play 4 or 5. But last year, we tilted it really from a defensive standpoint. We thought that was a better thing for us. And at the end, with our inability to score the basketball at times, you just don't feel that way on February 1st when you're 22-1 and you're the number 1 ranked offense in the country. You feel like, hey, it's good enough. And obviously it wasn't good enough. We had a slow deterioration offensively. It was just missing open shots when it gets down to it. And then when we coupled that with turning the basketball over, then it was hard for us.
Where is Trey right now in terms of that essential element of stretching the floor?
Yeah, well, it's he can stretch the floor and take that shot and play. He's fine. Offensively, he's a really good player. It's guarding different people. So whatever that presents itself in practice. So that ends up being the question. Sometimes your practices aren't all scrimmages, right? So you're working on things. You're not always working on the particulars that you're talking about.
At the end of last season, you talked about how the team had a lack of quickness. Do you think the additions of Miles Colvin and Lance Jones helped that? And can you just talk about the additions?
Yeah, well, I think athleticism and quickness. I would say the 3 guys that give us the most athleticism are, Cam Heide, Miles Colvin, and then Lance Jones. So those are the 3 guys that we added. And then obviously Will gives us, more size. And obviously with Zach coming back, that doesn't help him this coming year. But he also, had bone spurs taken out last year, and he's been out for a while. So seeing him out here, I thought he did some really good things. I thought all those guys did some good things. Lance hasn't practiced for a week, so it was good to see him get out here and get a game underneath his belt with everything. But no, we're excited because we feel with a couple areas that we needed more, we were able to get it in those guys.
Coach Katie going into the Hall of Fame this week. How much of a footprint is still in this program with what you do and how you operate?
I think just, he set a standard here. It was kind of a standard from a competitive standpoint more than anything. And, I always talk about anybody can have a good team and you have a good program. And really that just entails like, are your guys getting a degree? Do you have guys that are working together? Do you have guys that sacrifice for your team? Things of that nature. Everybody wants it to work for themselves, and rightfully so. But he brought just a great camaraderie, cohesion, competitiveness, together. And that was his stamp. You kind of become the head coach. And I'm a really competitive person. I don't show it as much as he does. But people that are around me understand that. People that aren't, sometimes you just watch me in a game. I'm not like that. Because you got to be yourself. I think that's the one thing. We've taken a lot from him. And that's what you want in the program. You want to take all those great things that he instilled, in this program, but also run and do different things because your personnel changes and time changes, right? The game's different than it was when I took over, 19 years ago.
Trey was mentioning that talking to some older guys that have been on a trip like this before, they mentioned it ended up being one of the best trips they've ever had.
Right.
So from your perspective, having been on trips like this before, is that kind of what you find as well?
Yeah, no doubt. It's more of, getting to know each other, being around each other more, and just spending time, and just kind of, letting your guard down a little bit. A lot of times when, you coach basketball, you play basketball, after the game's not over. Right? It still runs in your head. There's so many things going on. You got to talk to the media. As a coach, you got recruits. You got your schedule of what you're doing the next day. There, you're in a foreign country and you get to go sightseeing, or you got the afternoon off, or you just take a day to kind of relax there, unless you're traveling. But no, they're great life experiences for our guys.
What you talked about
the same part about Cam, Eddie.
Without going back and watching the tape, like I like today how he rebounded. I think when he got opportunities last year in scrimmages and stuff, he rebounded. So one thing that's really jumped out to me is that he's really, he makes an effort when he has an opportunity to go rebound the basketball. And I think that's something that's going to really help us. And I talked to him a little bit during and after the game, and you can't get away from this. I think this is great, that we get this time to really play and do some things, and Zach's not here just because he carves out so many minutes. He plays all the time, and rightfully so. But how do you coexist with him? On our team, like how do you each one of our guys has got to be able to take a step back and say, do I give us a better chance with Zach Edey? Because he's going to be out there, right? And so I think Cam's a guy that can really help us in that regard, to where he can knock down threes. Then his athleticism and his length can really help us defensively and on the glass.
What can you learn in Europe that you weren't able to kind of learn over the summer with these practices?
Just different environments, different style of play, different officials, how things are called. We don't adjust to them. You're going to struggle. You've got to adjust to them. It's their game. It's their refs. It's their, it's how things are getting called. And then don't argue. Like, you know what I mean? Just move on. I think it's been a bad example for people older than college guys. Everything's an argument. Shit. Like, just play the game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you were calling the game, like, how would you call it? Like, but you have such an emotional tag while you're playing that, like, now it's all this back and forth. And I hate that. I think that's, that's the coach's job. Let him be that guy. Let him be the guy delivering some messages if you have to officials. So yeah, just that in general, just kind of the uncertainty of everything when you go over there and you play, and how things get handled, how things get officiated, the ball, the gym, the backboards. You'll go into some places that are unique and really nice, then you'll go into some places that are very old school and archaic at times, which is cool. Like, there's some nostalgia there, right?
You talked about if it's players' dreams or whatever to get to the NBA, your goal is to help them get there, hopefully stay there. Drew Ranthrup has carved out a niche in the NBA now for about a decade. Just how special has it been to see him go through the coaching ladder and to go to the point now where he's an assistant?
Yeah, well, it's cool for him. I just experienced going to Vegas, and you see a lot of different people that play a lot of different roles in the NBA, and it takes everybody. You got to be able to sacrifice and pay your dues, and he's a guy that they locked him in a room for a couple years, and he was a video guy, and that's all you do. And now he's grown, and obviously he has a relationship with Frank Vogel, and he's been with Frank in a couple different spots, and so just being with the Pacers, and then the Magic, and then obviously going to college for a little bit, and then being able to hook up with the Lakers, and now with the Suns. It's tough keeping track of him, right? But no, it's great. Obviously one of his dreams and goals is to get behind the bench and then get on the bench, right? Be a coach and be there. And it's a little harder when you didn't play in the NBA. It's a lot harder maybe at times, but you got to be a guy that does a little bit of everything, so you're invaluable. And I think he's been able to do that and wear a lot of different hats.
Did you see him as a coach even when he was playing here, even when he was,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like you don't know with guys. Sometimes guys that understand things and know what's going on, you'll be like, hey man, you'd be a great coach, and they'll be like, it's the last thing I want to do, and that means they're intelligent. And then the other ones, they're gluttons for punishment, so they go into coaching.
Miles seemed to really be able to get to his pull up with ease.
Yeah.
What about him allows him to do that? Is that something you expect to see out of him?
Yeah, he's good at getting to his spots, and you got to have some guys that can go get one for you. You know what I mean? Like Braden Smith can break people down and create for himself, create for others. Miles can go get that pull up. Zach draws a lot of attention. Trey Kaufman will end up drawing a lot of attention with his ability to score. And then like the rest of the guys, like it doesn't mean they're not a big part of our offense, right? Because now you got to have guys that can knock down shots and make plays. But Miles is really good at that 1-2 dribble pull up and kind kind of that change of pace, change of direction and stuff. But it's very comfortable, as you can see. It looks good, right? Like sometimes things are hard to explain, but you know it when you see it.
You've been imploring your team to be physical at practice. How do you feel the game was physicality-wise?
I thought it was all right. I think it's difficult for them to watch a scrimmage or an alumni game that's fun and loose, and then go out there and
bust someone's head open.
Yeah, not having Ethan and not having Zach, in terms of bodies. Like, you would like to have more bodies, and I like to rotate a couple different people on picking up the basketball and guarding the basketball, and we couldn't afford to do that with Ethan out. He's our next guy. So just to give them a blow, you can see how both those guys, it got kind of a little difficult for them, but they need to get in shape. The good ones can do it, so they'll do it.
Just what was it like for you being able to welcome Coach Katie here today and have him get this ovation?
It's great. It's that's been our standard of excellence. Like, what he set for our program and the blueprint. But no, just happy for him. I think what took so long is it gets lost what he accomplished as a high school coach and a junior college coach. So, he went 6 years where he was a high school coach, and 9 years when he's a JUCO coach, where he won 75%, 80% of his games. He went to 6 national tournaments in 9 years as a JUCO coach. And then when he was an assistant for 4 years, he went to a Final Four. And then he was successful at Western Kentucky for 2 years. So that gets lost. Obviously, he had ultimate success here within the conference, and then, he went to the Elite Eight, I think, twice, and came up a little bit short, but he didn't have, just think if those other 15 years were coaching college basketball. So, it's just a little bit different, but there's great high school coaches in the Hall of Fame. There's great JUCO coaches in the Hall of Fame. So I think they did a great job. The Hall of Fame did a great job of really looking at his body of work, his whole career, 50 years, So we good?